What is going on, everybody? Your boy BOSG back with another live stream, and today I am collabing with not one but two YouTubers. To my right over here and my guy down here, Lindy Endzone and Lucas Hallman from the HPL have both decided to join me.
Yes, sir.
And we have joined forces to talk some Eagles, Sixers, and Mavs tonight. So go ahead, fellas, introduce yourselves. Lindy, you go
Yes,
first.
sir. All right, so y'all can. All right, you got it.
All right,
All right, so I'm Lucas from the HPL. Y'all could find us at what? Y'all could find us at the HPL. I'm Lucas from the HPL. The HPL on YouTube. We make some basketball content, and that's about it. Lindy.
That's the league that I gotta get in one of these days. If I make the
You make the team, boy. All right, so Henry B, what's going on? You want to collab with me? Send my podcast.
Where'd
We
Lindy
already
go?
started, so I think he might have had some internet issues, so we may wait on him for a little bit, or if we just want to start off the bat, we can, or we can lay on Lindy real quick. They usually have like these internet issues, so if that's the case, then I guess we may go and start this. We are LJ Sports Smash. Well, we already started, so it's too little, too late. So, Farm 5, what's going on, my guy? What's happening?
Y'all, our links are in the description. Y'all want to check our channels out?
Yeah. The links are in the description if you want to check Lindy Endzone and Lucas Hallman out at the HPL. And I think I saw in the private chat that Lindy said he was good, so he should be back any second now. And once we get him back on, I think we'll get the show on the road. Unless we want to kind of get a head start or something.
I gotta pull. Yeah.
I gotta add Lindy back in, but I have no idea how to do that. I gotta add Lindy back in, but I have no idea how.
He should
on a phone,
be like
it's harder on a phone, to be honest.
He should. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to add him back in.
RB said he might pop in here.
Oh wait, I got it. I got him. Got it. Let's go.
There you go.
Oh, let's go.
Let's go. I figured it out now. I had to go to guest and see who was backstage, and I saw you on there, Lindy.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I tried to figure it out. This is my first time doing this, so I'm trying to get used to leading the collab and just trying to do my thing and just bring people back in, and I'm just trying to get used to this. So, sorry for a little bit of the delay right there, but I think I found out what to do now for it.
Yeah, you good? All right,
yeah,
man.
We're good. All right. So, I guess we could just start with like a Q&A on like the Eagles, Sixers, and Mavs real quick, just to hopefully get some people in here, give us their thoughts in the chat. So, I guess we could start on. Do we want to start on the Eagles, Sixers, or Mavs?
Guess it should be a mutual. Team.
Whatever y'all want, I'm fine with.
I will start on some Eagles. What do you guys think our record will be for this year?
I'm going 8-9. You know, just a mediocre season. I think we'll improve off of last year. Jalen Hurts will take a big leap, but I don't think we'll be in the playoffs. Honestly, I think Washington got that.
Yeah, Washington may take it once again, just because they have literally one of, if not the best defense in the NFC East by now. I think they have the best defense and the best D line mainly is what makes them like so good in my opinion. And that is what brings them up. But we are in a close second, so I really think our D-line can keep doing what they're supposed to do. And if we can get a CB2, then we can really step up in the secondary. And I think our linebackers will be way better than what they were last year.
Yeah. Don't sleep on Dallas, though. Don't sleep on them.
Yeah, Dallas. Yeah, Dallas got Micah Parsons. They got
Lindy.
Jabril Cox. They still got Lane Vander Esch. They got Jalen Smith. And they have that D-line still with DeMarcus Lawrence. I think they got rid of Everson Griffin, but they got Dontari Post still. Didn't they still have Antwan Woods? I forget. I think they still have Antwan Woods. But I think their secondary would have to. I think their secondary would have to amp up a little bit, to be honest, because their secondary, I don't think, was the greatest last year. Just in my opinion, I don't think their secondary was as good as they could have had.
Yeah, it wasn't that
but
great.
I think their secondary will definitely step up this year.
Well,
I really do.
If we know one thing, the NFC East is always a competitive division.
Yeah, and it's not really like a big win division, so 8 and 9 could be enough, but it's just going to be tough with Washington now that they have an incredible defense.
I mean, what did Washington have last year? Like 7 wins. I mean, if that can win the division,
7 and
8
9
can easily win it.
7 and 9, and they won the division because the Cowboys, they lost to the Giants, and the Giants were hoping that the Eagles would win, because if the Eagles would have won, that would have put the Giants into the playoffs. But since we lost to Washington, that put Washington in the playoffs instead, before they lost to Tampa in the first round.
Well,
this year we can't be losing to these bum teams like the Bengals,
schedule.
like we tied last year.
Yeah, definitely. But the NFC East, in the past few years, it hasn't really been known for like being very many of the teams being with many wins. What I'm trying to say is that all the teams in the NFC East have not had a lot of wins. So a team won the division with like 9-7, 10-6, 7-9. They won with that. The last time any team had a high number was the Eagles when they went on that Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
So 8 wins may be enough, to be honest, depending on what Washington does. I'm not sure what Dallas is going to do. I think Micah Parsons. I think their rookies may have to get used to doing what they're supposed to do a little bit and being in the NFL. But by around, like, I'd say week 6 or 5, one of those weeks, they could definitely really start to step up, and they could really help out the Cowboys defense. Because Dallas defense will definitely improve this year with both Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox going to Dallas, and 2 heavy linebackers that will step up as much as they possibly can, and they'll help out Dallas defense a lot. I know in the draft they wanted
to mention Dak Prescott will be coming back from you. So
yeah, I know Dak will be coming back. He may be a little rusty in the beginning, but I think he'll definitely step up. So I'm not surprised if Dak literally goes off this year. And I think CeeDee Lamb is definitely going to be better than what he was last year as well in his rookie year. I definitely think CeeDee Lamb will 100% be better for Dallas. It just depends on which defense the Cowboys offense will be facing. Is it going to be Washington's? Is it going to be Pittsburgh's? Is it going to be the Eagles defense? Who knows whose defense it's going to be? Because that's what it'll come down to stopping Dallas on both ends, on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
Well, with the way the division is looking right now, I mean, obviously with the Eagles, we're kind of against the 8 ball right here with with having a new quarterback starting and under our offense, with a new head coach, new coaching staff, et cetera, trying to have our rookie class of players engage, in the regular season and see where they end up on the 53-man roster, who makes it, who gets cut, et cetera, et cetera. And that's also, it's also to take into consideration the rest of the division. They're building on veteran quarterbacks. Washington is trying to build with Ryan Fitzpatrick. We don't know at this point if we're going to get Fitzmagic or Fitztragic. I think that's yet to be found out. Dak Prescott coming off of that nasty ankle injury. You really don't want to see that kind of thing to happen to players like that, because it was just terrible to see on the field. But I can't imagine that Cowboys fans are 100% confident that Dak is going to go out in the field and act like nothing has ever happened. We've seen Carson Wentz try and come back from that dual ligament tear in 2018, and he just did not look the same. It bothers you physically in a sense, it bothers you mentally in a sense. So that's something that, Dak is going to have to work around in that Cowboys offense. As soon as he sees as soon as he feels, or as soon as he sees any amount of pressure, is his ability to escape the pocket and run hindered? We don't know any of that until maybe training camp or preseason games, regular season games, what have you. And then, for the New York Football Giants, they're trying to build something, and
they got Saquon back too. They got Saquon Barkley back as well.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley comes back from that ACL tear. We have to find out if he's going to be the same. and I mean, this Giants team, in the front office and Joe Judge, they're making sure they're doing their due diligence and doing whatever they can possible to build an offense around Daniel Jones, and they bring in guys like Kyle Rudolph to pair with Evan Ingram. You got Darius Slayton, you got Sterling Shepard, and you bring in John Ross, and you bring in Kenny Golladay. There's a lot.
And they got Kadarius Toney in the draft in the first round.
Their draft pick. There's a lot of.
They could have a decent wide receiver core, to be honest.
But
they got a lot of wide receivers to work with.
Yeah, and the majority of those receivers that I mentioned are still there, for one. And two, with those same receivers, the Giants only won 6 games last year, and Daniel Jones threw for under 15 touchdowns. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's gonna be a tough call. I mean, you can arguably say that Daniel Jones suffered in a similar way to how Zeke Elliott suffered. They're different positions, but there's a correlation. Zeke suffered because Dak Prescott was not the quarterback under center. They had Andy Dalton, they had Nucci, they had multiple
Garrett Gilbert.
Yeah, Garrett Gilbert. They had multiple quarterbacks with the ball.
They had 4 quarterbacks playing.
Zeke is trying to figure these guys out week after week, like their mannerisms and how they command the offense when they're on the field. And then, for Daniel Jones, he suffered because his number one back was not on the field anymore, so he had to try and rely on guys like Wayne Gallman, and more responsibility was put on the receivers and the tight end position. And Evan Ingram chokes in one of the games against us and drops that pass that Daniel Jones had him basically wide open for, or we would have gotten swept by the Giants last year. There was a very good chance. So I mean, yeah, every division rival, every team in the NFC East has their own quirks that they have to work around right now. But you can arguably say that the Eagles have the biggest hill to climb, because they have a lot of new faces at specific positions, especially with a lot of first-year guys in that coaching staff trying to develop a chemistry. What do they want offensively, defensively? Is it going to work with the players they have? There's a lot more homework that we need to do as opposed to the rest of the division. So that's why a lot of people are skeptical as to how the Eagles are going to look this year opposed to the rest of the teams in our division.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. This could be a very competitive This could be a very competitive division. I'm not going to lie. I just don't see all 4 of the NFC East teams getting a lot of wins this year. I just don't have that feeling again because it's been happening for the past few years, and I think that trend continues. Because I have a feeling that Ryan Fitzpatrick may get a little rusty to start. Daniel Jones may do the same. Dak maybe do the same. But Jalen Hurts, I mean, come on. First of all, with Jalen Hurts, how do you not put him on the top 40 quarterback list? And how do you put Kellen Mond, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields? How do you put all those quarterbacks over Jalen Hurts when, first of all, Jalen Hurts has more experience than all the other rookie quarterbacks, number one. And number two, Kellen Mond is horrible and is probably one of the worst backup quarterbacks in the league. How does that happen? Who knows?
Hey,
But
Listen, I don't know how you put 2 rookies in the top 40 quarterbacks. I don't know how you put 2 rookies in the top 40 quarterbacks when they never played a snap in the NFL. I just don't get that.
no, they put Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Trey Lance. They put I think like 4 rookie quarterbacks in the top 40 quarterback list, and they put Kellen Mond on there. Like, how much playing time has Kellen Mond gotten? Barely any.
And worse yet, Jalen Hurts is actually 8th on the top 10 consensus for fantasy teams. Go figure.
Yeah,
Out
I
of
did.
the top 10 quarterbacks. He's 8th in fantasy, but you can't put him in a top 40, skill position wise. It just makes it worse as to how much sense it doesn't make. Then again, this is a opinion from Chris Sims compared to Pro Football Focus, but it's just like an oxymoron. It doesn't add up.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I mean, I don't know how you put all these rookie quarterbacks and Kellen Mond all over Jalen Hurts. It doesn't make sense. But here's the thing. In fantasy football, they put Jalen Hurts as the number 8 best quarterback in the NFL out of all these quarterbacks. But in the regular NFL season, they don't even put him in the top 40? This doesn't make sense. Like, someone give me an explanation on how this makes sense. How Jalen Hurts is literally top 10 in fantasy, but not even in the top 40 in the real NFL season. Like, come on. When you rank these quarterbacks, you have Jalen Hurts outside of the top 40, but you have him in top 10 in fantasy. It doesn't make sense.
No, I mean, Chris Sims is a respected football mind, I'm sure, but again, it's his opinion. It's not, it's not set in stone. It's not a Bible. It's not the Bible. It's not anything else. But I mean, opinions are like I'm not gonna get graphic with it, but opinions are like a bleep. Everyone has one. So I think you guys are picking up what I'm putting down on that comical analogy. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Anything to stir Eagles fans up because anything, like I said, anything to stir Eagles fans up. Because, go ahead, Lucas.
Where do we rank Jalen Hurts as of right now?
That's a good question.
Well,
where do we rank Jalen Hurts?
It's a tough one because a lot of it, a lot of.
I would probably say like 18th.
Ooh, top 20. That's a tough one, man. I don't know about top 20 because I mean, there's a lack of experience that he has in the NFL right now. I mean, he's played
4.5 games in the NFL as of now.
He played 4 games. He wasn't necessarily. He didn't necessarily look the greatest. But again,
come on, they have Carson Wentz at 18.
Yeah, I know. I know. I just don't know. I just don't know if I can put Jalen Hurts inside the top 20.
I don't know where I would even put Jalen Hurts, to be honest. I mean, I think we got to see more out of Jalen Hurts to decide where we would put Jalen Hurts on on where we would rank him, to be honest, because he's only played 4.5 games this year, and 4.5 games is not going to prove that you're going to be a very good quarterback. A full season is where you will show that you will be a very good quarterback, because that will show all these other guys what you're actually made of and what you can actually do on and off the field.
Well,
Because Jalen Hurts did not play a full season last year, and obviously Carson Wentz didn't because he got benched for Jalen. I understand that, but Jalen Hurts only played 4.5 games, so I think he's got to. I think he's got to ball out and prove the doubters wrong. He's got
yeah.
to.
I think you can. I think you're in a spot where you can respectively put Jalen anywhere from the rank of 20 to 30. Again,
I would agree. I would agree.
Again, a lot of this is based on expectation instead of experience. Taking 4 games in a season that was, the dominoes were falling to begin with. We've seen how many different offensive line changes over the course of that season. The starting quarterback who got paid, $30 million a year ends up getting benched. It was a bad situation all around. So I mean, with the expectation that Jalen Hurts is going to have more stability around him, he's going to end up being the focal point of this offense. Then yeah, I mean you can analyze him a little better in that sense, because of the stability that he's going to go into this season. With obviously, like I said, with him as the focal point, and at that point in time, then it would be easier to rank him from that quarterback standpoint. But again, with this list, to have him behind guys like Drew Lock and players like that, I don't know if
and rookies
if
and
you want to
Kellen
go that
Mond.
far. So yeah. I mean, this is more an expectation than experience at this point. Give him a full season. Give him a full season with him as a quarterback instead of a guy, instead of a guy sharing the field with Carson Wentz on trick plays and whatever, and not necessarily utilizing every part of Jalen Hurts' skill set. It was just asinine to see the way he was used up until the point of him replacing Carson Wentz. But yeah, no, he's in a better spot right now, and it's gonna give us an opportunity to see what he is as the number one.
Yeah, definitely. We got to see a full season out of Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts got to stay healthy, and that's also how Jalen Hurts is going to prove all the doubters wrong. He's got to stay healthy and play a full season, because we haven't done that. We haven't done that since 2016 with Carson Wentz as the quarterback. We have not done it since 2016. In 2017, Carson Wentz was injured. In 2018, Carson Wentz was injured. In 2019, Carson Wentz got hurt. And in 2020, we benched him for Jalen Hurts. So we haven't had one quarterback play all the regular season games since 2016, when the Eagles went 7-9 and didn't make the playoffs. Let me see the chat real quick. Okay, shout out to you, Henry B. And by the way, Henry B got me my 150th subscriber today. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Michael, what's going on? Let's go, Birds. What's happening? Lucas with the face reveal. Rank him top 25. He's better than a lot of these QBs, and you can't have drafted quarterbacks. At 150, congrats. Yeah, thanks, Lucas. Appreciate that. If he balls out this year, 3,800 yards, 25 TDs, and 11 picks would probably solidify him as a top 20. Definitely. I mean, he's got to work on his game a little bit. He's got to throw the ball better. He's just got to be a better quarterback, and I think he can definitely be better in year 2. Which leads me to my next question for you guys. What do you think? How many passing yards for Jalen Hurts, how many TDs, and how many interceptions?
You can have the floor with this one, Lucas. I made a video on it already.
Honestly, I don't expect. I expect a lot from Jalen Hurts, but you know, I see him getting a good amount of passing yards, throwing a good amount of TDs, but I don't expect him to be like an MVP like caliber player this year. But he's gonna be all right for this team.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts is going to try all he can to be a successful quarterback for Philadelphia. He's definitely going to try all he can to be a good starting quarterback and try to prove all the doubters wrong this year. 100%, he's definitely going to try to do that.
Yeah, so I ended up making a video on my it was my way early performance prediction for Jalen Hurts for the season, which I just checked now, and it's only been up for 2 weeks, and I'm now officially over 700 views on it. I did in no way, shape, or form was I expecting that kind of number, so that's phenomenal to me. But
Wow,
in that video,
that video
in that
popped
video
off.
I described, I feel Jalen Hurts is going to have a balanced season. We're going to see him throw the ball. We're going to see him run the ball. I mean, he's a dual threat quarterback, so that's natural to him. That's what comes natural to him. There's been examples of that. For like for short glimpses at Alabama, and then he gets his own time to shine as an
And he goes to Oklahoma and tries to do what he can over there.
And so I have Jalen Hurts at about 4,100 all-purpose yards, which includes passing and rushing. I had 3,500 passing to 600 rushing. Touchdown-wise, he'll have anywhere from 29 to 32. And I would say, because he's good to throw picks. He's going to throw picks. That's to be expected. I don't know if he's going to have a season where he throws under 10, but I have him around 10 to 12 interceptions, which is fair. His touchdown interception ratio will still be over a 2, which is respectable. And those are I think those are numbers we can expect from a second-year quarterback with an entire offseason, dedicated to him as the number one, as opposed to somebody else that was here that he was trying to battle with unexpectedly, because none of us expected Jalen Hurts being taken in last year's draft class. So I mean, he's already off to a good start in this offseason here. Joe Flacco is a suitable backup for the position. A lot of us thought that Flacco was going to be aggressive and wanting to take a starter role and fight for it, but I don't see that. I don't see that being the case. And then, Nick Mullins is going to work with the practice squad guys, so we think. So, I think Jalen Hurts is poised for success, but I feel my prediction is respectable and fair across the board.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely would agree with somewhere around that stat line. Big Play Slay here says for Jalen Hurts, 25 TDs, 14 interceptions, and 3,700 yards. I'm guessing that means combined, but I could see that. If Jalen Hurts can definitely ball out this year, we can definitely see that from our second-year guy. He definitely just needs to be better in the pocket when he rolls out, and just has to be better at all ends when he tries to get out of the pocket and tries to pass it. But also our O-line has got to stay healthy, because that is going to be key to Jalen Hurts' success. The health of the O-line, because we have been injured on the O-line for the past few years, and we can understand that is the reason that we haven't had much success, but the O-line has definitely got to stay healthy, because that is what's going to lead our quarterback to success, because we still have not signed Lane Dickerson yet. We still have young guys like Nate Herbig, Matt Pryor, and Jack Driscoll, who did okay, but we haven't seen them at their best. So we definitely got to see better from our younger O-line guys. And this will definitely bring up a question that I'll definitely bring up to you guys in a little bit, but not at the moment.
Making it.
So Anyway, Random Ann says Jalen will be okay even in that Dallas game. He had 2 really bad interceptions and I think a fumble. He still looked a lot better than Carson. He's going to learn and not just say he'll get better. Yeah, definitely. And he also said like Wentz. Yeah, definitely. Wentz will be a top quarterback because with Frank Reich on his side at Indianapolis, he'll definitely step up there with throwing balls to T.Y. Hilton and Michael Pittman. He'll definitely be better in Indianapolis this year. Just watch him become the MVP. Hot take coming in. Just watch him be the MVP this year. And I can definitely see that coming in. But I got another question for you guys. And this
I'm gonna
one
head to the
goes
bathroom,
to the
y'all. I'll
O-line.
be back in a few.
All right.
All right, good, Lucas.
All right, Lindy, I'm going to ask you this question real quick. Who do you think is going to be our starting left tackle this year? Because that is still undecided at this moment. So who do you think we start at left tackle, Jordan Mailata or Andre Dillard?
Well, I mean, you have to consider the fact that the best ability is availability right now, and Jordan Mailata has been available. I think he is the top the top prodigy project that Jeff Stoutland has worked with over the years. I think it's been like 3-4 years now that Stoutland has been working with that Aussie athletic freak that Mailata is. Him being a fantastic rugby player and then just running people over like a truck. And then he comes to football and he's once again a freak of nature. Throwing guys around like it's no problem. These are big dudes. These are big defensive end pass rushers that he's going against. And, again, he wasn't perfect. And, that's to be expected with, I think Mailata was a 7th round pick in the first place. But this goes to show how damn good of a positional coach. And in my opinion, I think Jeff Stoutland is the best offensive, line coach in the NFL. But this just goes to show how damn good he is, and how good mentally Jordan Mailata is. Being able to retain the information that he's given, on a season to season basis. But in terms of Andre Dillard, he's gonna fight. He's going to fight. I mean, this is a guy that was a former 1st round pick. I think out of Washington State, the competition that he faced wasn't necessarily the greatest, but he did good enough to grade as one of the top linemen in his draft class. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to stay on the field. He was exploited in 2019, unfortunately, due to injury. They tried flexing him to the other tackle spot. He doesn't have that kind of versatility, so it didn't work. I mean, at the end of the day, I will probably have to say that Mailata is going to be the starter, but I'm not necessarily counting Dillard out at the moment. As we know, the trenches are one of the most critical positions in the NFL for any football team, and to have depth, that's a 1st round pick. It's pretty lucky to have. But at the same time, is he going to have trade value? Absolutely. But it just depends on how well he takes this competition. Does he show his worth? But I'm gonna have to go with Jordan Mailata for now until we see how training camp shapes out. But I think the competition's tight. I think it's going to be tight.
Yeah, I think it can definitely be tight too, in my opinion. It's mainly going to come down who does better in training camp. I mean, I'm sticking with Jordan Mailata to start left tackle because Isaac Seumalo is pretty much a lock at left guard. Jason Kelsey's a lock at center. Brandon Brooks is a lock at right guard, and Lane Johnson's a lock at right tackle. I think Jordan Mailata also starts this year because you saw him as a draft pick in the 7th round. And if you see how much this man Jordan Mailata has definitely improved his game, he has improved it a lot. And this man could play both left tackle and right tackle, depending where we position him and Andre Dillard if Lane Johnson gets injured, because Lane Johnson's getting up there. Basically, everyone but Jordan Mailata is getting up there in age. Jason Kelsey's going to get ready to retire probably after this season. But I would stick with Jordan Mailata at left tackle, but don't be surprised if Andre Dillard does well in training camp and definitely does get the start. Don't be surprised if it happens.
Yep.
But keep in mind that Andre Dillard did not play a single snap last season, which could also boost up on Jordan Mailata to start at left tackle, in my opinion. I think he may start in the beginning, but maybe Andre Dillard does take over. But for now, I'm going to stick with Jordan Mailata as my left tackle if I am the person that controls the O-line in Jeff Stoutland.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. But like I said, at the same time, I mean, you would love to have the amount of depth at that spot, especially if it ends up being a first round pick. You can still afford to keep Dillard on the team. But then again, is there going to be a limitation involved because he doesn't necessarily have the versatility from what we know? We don't necessarily know if that's been worked on or not. But yeah, I mean, any team is going to want that kind of depth. But no, yeah, like I said, it's going to be a tough competition between them two. But Mailata has the upper hand right now because he's put out the most game tape so far.
Definitely, and he has definitely improved his game. I mean, this man Jordan Mailata, he didn't even play football. He didn't play college ball, didn't play high school ball. The only thing he played was rugby. That was all he played. And if you see how much his game has improved, it has improved a lot. And that is why I think Jordan Mailata could definitely be the starting left tackle this year. But don't be surprised if Andre Dillard steps it up in training camp and definitely does find a way to get that left tackle start.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised, because Andre Dillard could ball in training camp and he could be a starting left tackle as well.
So it looks like Random Anton brought up a good question. He was saying, do you think if Dillard starts, it's because Howie has his hand in the cookie jar, being a lot of fans want Mailata? That's I don't like it. I guess it depends how we approach this. Being on what we seen last year in 2020 with a lot of veterans still on this roster getting paid X amount of dollars. There was a justification there on wanting to get the most out of the contract as to what these guys were getting paid, and whether it was Jason Peters or Alshon Jeffrey. And I think we gave Jamon Brown money just to stink it up out there, and stuff like that. I don't know if this is necessarily going to be the case, being Dillard is still on his rookie deal. However, if this is going to be a scenario where if they feel that Mailata is the clear cut, but they're splitting the snaps between him and Dillard, it may be a case where Andre could be a trade deadline asset if the Eagles want to make moves to better the team. And I feel at that point Dillard might have some value. And obviously, sometimes we're going to need to make substitutions along the line. I mean, that's the only case where I would see Dillard start in some situations, like them figuring out who is the better option starting for week to week. But I think if it gets to that point, it's going to end up being if they want to move Dillard at the trade deadline. Obviously, his contract is worth a lot more than Mailata is, considering the difference in picks of the draft. So yeah, that's the only scenario I see it. But to say Howie having his hand in the cookie jar, I don't know. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to go there.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I mean, if Andre Dillard starts, I don't think it's because of Howie Roseman. I think it's because Jeff Stoutland wants a more experienced guy in the NFL to start at that left tackle spot, because Jeff Stoutland may be afraid that Jordan Mailata may get drilled by some of these defensive ends on these certain defenses. But Mailata has definitely improved his game, and that would be the only reason I would think that Andre Dillard would start. If Jeff Stoutland wants to go with the veteran guy that has more experience but has been injured in the past. But if he wants to go with the veteran, go ahead with the veteran in Andre Dillard. But if you want to roll with the young guy who has definitely improved his game, go with Jordan Mailata. But I'm sticking with Jordan Mailata no matter what.
Yeah, that's fair. And we can look at it in a way as is, it just because Dillard starts doesn't mean he's going to get 100% of the snaps. It's based on skill set, obviously. I mean, are they going to feel more comfortable with Dillard, taking snaps and run concepts? Is it going to be pass protection? We don't know any of that, but at the same time, that's where the element of versatility comes in. And it looks to be the case that Mailata has a little more versatility than Dillard does, but those are extra things to consider. If we're saying that Dillard may possibly start some games, yeah, like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to take 100% of the snaps at left tackle. It just depends on how healthy the offensive line stays this year.
Yeah, definitely. And the question for mainly a lot of these guys, for mainly Jeff Stoutland, is do you go ahead and start a guy in Andre Dillard who was literally not playing all of last season and could get a little rusty to start? Or do you start a guy, Jordan Mailata, who has, number one, improved his game, and number two, has gotten better since last season playing that left tackle spot? That is the biggest question right now for Jeff Stoutland at this point.
Well, I think they can make a little more of a comfortable decision in that respect, because this year we do have preseason games. You can see how they look. Yeah, it's going that's going to be one.
It also may come down to that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, don't be surprised if both Jordan Mailata and Andre Dillard both get snaps in the preseason. And that could also be where Jeff Stoutland can definitely make his decision in the regular season. I mean, they could split left tackle roles. They could shift Andre Dillard or Jordan Mailata over to right tackle to take the spot of Lane Johnson if he gets hurt. Because Lane Johnson's getting up there in age, and they both have experience on pretty much both ends. I know Jordan Mailata has. I'm not sure if Andre Dillard has, though. But I think Andre Dillard does have experience playing right tackle. So, I mean, it also may come down to the preseason. I mean, who's going to be better in blocking for the quarterback? It's also going to come down to that as well. So, that also may be what it comes down to for Jeff Stoutland to decide who he starts at left tackle by week 1 against Atlanta.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Anton. Yep. I hated last year when they put in the vets after other players were hitting their stride. Yeah, it just, I mean, if you're trying to, and they understood what they were getting into with how much of an impact COVID was making, on the standard, on the typical procedures of an NFL offseason for every single team, and they understood that, but you're not going to like it's not necessarily a self-destruction when you insert these veterans. It's more of like, it's like a you're compromising your skill positions for no reason, just to justify a you know just to justify a contract that you were given for to these veterans to hopefully play them out, so they can enter free agency, what have you. But um, unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and they could have very well avoided this. Knowing the repercussions, Alshon Jeffrey did not has not been able to stay healthy for the last 3 years. People forget 2017. He played through a Liz Frank injury that hampered him going into 2018. So he's been battling injuries for 3 years. Um, Deshaun Jackson has been, he's been on and off the injury list, 33, like 32 going on 33, picking him up in 2019. Jason Peters never had the greatest knees, getting up there in age, close to 40 years old. Lane Johnson with his ankle, but it's like, I guess it is what it is at this point. And, all we can do now is move on and hope that we don't have another season similar to what happened last year.
Let's just not. Please,
it,
dear Lord.
it,
I don't want to have to
can
see
be
Nate Herbig and Matt Pryor, as well as Jack Driscoll, get most of these snaps. I don't want to have to see that this season. Because if we do, then Jalen Hurts is going to get destroyed at the quarterback spot. And then the Philadelphia Eagles can definitely be in trouble when it comes to Jalen Hurts in the backfield.
Well, I wouldn't, I wouldn't put guys like Jack Driscoll and Nate Herbig in the same conversation with Matt Pryor. I mean, Driscoll and Herbig showed more promise than Matt Pryor has. I mean, the best we've seen out of Matt Pryor was that playoff game in 2019 against the Seahawks. So that was where most of his good film came from, and then he just never hit that peak like how promising he looked in that game. It wasn't sustainable. Herbig has his issues, but one of the biggest ones was for him to play that guard spot that the way he was too out of shape. So now going into this offseason, it was said and reported that Nate Herbig actually dropped 35 pounds, so he's in better shape than he was last year. Jack Driscoll was a very underrated, rookie piece, inserting into that lineup at the start of week one when Brandon Brooks wasn't able to go because of his second Achilles. And Jack Driscoll actually played pretty well. I think a little higher than I think to a higher expectation than what a lot of us had Jack at. So I can't say that it's going to be it would be an unfortunate situation if you had to play guys like Jack Driscoll and Nate Herbig again. Of course you don't want to go deep into your depth chart once more because of injury concerns, but those are good pieces to add to the trenches, as far as depth goes, if you would need it.
Yeah, definitely. Lucas, can you hear us? Can you hear what we're saying?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, we can hear you too. Just try to make sure, because we were kind of like talking about the O-line and how the Eagles would do this year. So we're just going to probably try to run it back for you. Give us your thoughts on like who will be the starting left tackle this season, and do you think our O-line can stay healthy?
Last year, part of the reason why we lost so much and made Wentz look really bad is because of our O-line. Like, we need to improve that O-line as soon as possible. I think it will be all right this year. But I heard your guys' thoughts, and they were pretty good. But yeah, I'm honestly just ready to talk some Sixers basketball. I don't know about y'all and Mavericks basketball.
Hey, we're getting there, my guy. Just trying to get some Eagles thoughts real quick because the Eagles season's coming up. We'll get
Yeah,
into it
facts.
in a we'll get into it in a little bit, but
Well,
I mainly
knowing the HPL, that's exactly what he came here for.
hey he's a basketball channel, yes sir,
Lucas, ball is life.
yes
Yes,
You
sir.
already
sir.
know, ball is life.
He's over here practicing and draining his shots just to make wetter 3-point shots than Ben Simmons, who doesn't want to show his 3-point jumper.
What's
Trade
up,
him.
Philly Mike? Philly
Philly
Mike.
Talk Podcast, my guy, what's going on, man? Guys,
Hey, Philly Talk Podcast.
if you
Let's
guys have
go.
not subbed to his channel yet, be sure to do so. I think he's on the road to 11 or 12K, but definitely go sub him up, man. Great content creator, and if you want Eagles and Sixers content, check out his channel. Nichkovsky, my guy, bro. Yes, sir. What's going on? My man.
Oh, what's up, Mitch?
All right, one more question for you guys, and then we'll ride on over to the Sixers and then the Mavs talk. So, do you guys think we need a better CB2 than Avonte Maddox and mainly Avonte Maddox, and if we do need a better CB2, who do you guys want?
Is this a trick question? I think it is. I think it is at this point. It sounds like a trick question. I mean, there's no doubt that we need to get better at the CB2 spot. Darius Slay needs help. But I mean, straight and forward. Big play Slay needs.
Big play Slay cannot do this all by himself.
Yeah, I mean, we don't call him Big Play Slay for nothing, and he can't be that without assistance on the opposite side. I mean, he's trying to recruit Steven Nelson, and there isn't necessarily that favorite on the roster right now. Unless the Eagles are trying to go in the direction and seeing what some of these young guys are capable of. I mean, who are your top considerations? Is it Zech McPherson? Is it Michael Jaquette? Do you really like Craig James on the outside? I mean, Craig James has experience. Michael Jaquette has experience. Zech McPherson, 4th-round pick.
Depends how well he can do in training camp.
Yeah,
bro, I don't want to see Michael Jaquette on the floor again, bro. He's literally getting exposed on the floor by Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and the list goes on and on and on.
Well, I'm not gonna,
he's getting exposed.
You necessarily can't fault Michael Jaquette for that, though, because I mean, he gets thrown into.
He's playing good receivers. He's playing against really good receivers.
Well, yeah, he got thrown into the fire because it was towards the end of the season. Jalen Hurts was in there, and it was the Arizona game, and Darius Slay was, I think he was battling like an ankle issue of some sort, and I remember going back to 2019, he was fighting a hamstring. So I don't know if there is like a correlation between the two. Like, we know Slay has had an injury history, and it's not very extensive and it's not severe, but he has one. So it was predictable at times that with the workload that Slay was being given under that Jim Schwartz defense, that there was I guess more times than not, there was a chance of him getting hurt because of his responsibilities and always being on the number one receiver and so on and so forth. So for him to miss that Arizona game, you insert Michael Jaquette against, like what, a top 3, top 2, even in some people's books, the number 1 receiver in the NFL in DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, as far as an ask for, a guy of Michael Jaquette's caliber, that's like trying to climb Mount Everest. Let's be real. So I mean, you can't necessarily fault him. And then that Jim Schwartz defense, it really wasn't the greatest fit for some of these players. They were left on islands too much, no safety help, bend don't break, sticks defense. It just was a mismatch schematically, and I think that's one of the biggest improvements that a guy in Jonathan Gannon is going to want to instill and help give some of these players that confidence to say, hey, that guess what? Maybe I can do this. And, the team that I play for isn't going to always have to go after a veteran. And, that's the chance for me to step up and show my worth. So, I mean, yeah, we still need a CB2. Through it all, we still need a CB2. And like the top considerations at this point, they have been, I think Garyon Conley has been mentioned. Obviously, Steven Nelson, because we already seen Darius Slay trying to recruit him. And then in some people's minds, it's been Richard Sherman. But, Sherman at 32 going on 33, he necessarily doesn't have, the speed anymore to play the outside. But, that's just what it is. And, we can only hope for some of these guys on the roster right now to take that next step, so we're not always in these situations year in and year out, actually having two reliable corners instead of just one all the time. But no, I mean, yeah, we definitely need a CB2, but there is confidence to be had in some of the players that we already have on our roster, just not to the caliber of starting material.
Yeah, definitely. So who would you take as your CB2? Would you take like a cheap guy like Steve Nelson, who only wants $5 million? Also, Xavier Howard has been talked about, but I think is wanting $14 million, and we don't have that. So I don't think we can get Xavier Howard on the table. Steve Nelson's cheap. He's pretty good in the secondary, and he could come in and be that guy to play better than some of these other cornerbacks on the opposite side of Darius Slay. He can definitely lock down on some of these other receivers better than guys like Avonte Maddox, Michael Jaquez, Craig James, whoever you have starting at that CB2 spot. I mean, I would prefer Steve Nelson playing CB2 than Avonte Maddox, only if Avonte Maddox does struggle in training camp and in the preseason if he gets playing time.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I didn't mention Avonte Maddox is because he's not a legitimate outside corner, and obviously,
he's only 5'11", and
yeah. Well, no, he's not even 5'11". He's 5'9". I mean, him and Josiah Scott, who we traded to get from the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're the same build. They're perfect. They're perfect as a slot corner or in the nickel spot or what have you. They're just not built height wise and wingspan to play the outside to really to get in there and disrupt the receiver's route and get in their face. If they have to play over the top with a 50-50 guy, they don't have that range to do so. Maybe in terms of them being able to keep up with said receiver on a consistent basis, yeah, they may be there in coverage, but are they going to aid in trying to contest the catch? Maybe not. But in terms of Steven Nelson, I think he was due to make about $8 million from the Pittsburgh Steelers until they said no thanks. So I don't know. Him and his agent are probably going to want to stay around that number, but it is understood that with you being a free agent and you're going to another team, there could be the situation that you may have to go under a prove-it deal. We've seen that from the Eagles before. So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be like $5 million. Like that's the guaranteed amount. We do know that it's not going to be under $5 million. But I
thought Steve Nelson said that he was asking for $5 million after it was $8 million, and they reduced it down to $5 million to try and make it easier for the Eagles because they're very low in cap space with $4.5 million with all they have left.
Well,
so that's why they're trying to ask Steve Nelson to be given $5 million instead of $8 million, which is possibly what he's asking for at this point. Because the Eagles are in a rough cap situation, and we don't even have $8 million in the bag. We only have $4.5 million to work with, and we got to try the best we can to get this man on a one-year deal at least.
Well, yeah, I mean, players are known to do this sometimes. I mean, they'll they'll drop the numbers, at a bare minimum to, try and attract team interest, from multiple, like, different organizations. And it was rumored at one point that Steve Nelson had about 14 different teams interested in him, and that is definitely attributed to the number that he was, to the number that he has been said that he's probably looking for. I would assume that that's typical craft for these agents or these players to do that sort of thing. But in most cases, players aren't necessarily looking for the bare minimum unless they know that that's all they're going to get, and it's about having a job in the NFL. Do Steve Nelson's numbers, garner a contract worth $8 million? Maybe not. It depends on the situation. But with the Eagles in arguably, not arguably, but the Eagles in a desperate position to want, to need a CB2 when you already have your lockdown corner on the opposite side. I think those are the situations where guys like Steve Nelson are going to want to take advantage, based on the circumstance. So yeah, I mean, we've seen numbers fluctuate, over the course of time in these kinds of negotiations. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think $5 million is like the bare minimum, and he's obviously going to want to look for more than that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I really think Jonathan Gannon can definitely get this defense a lot better than it was last year. Whether it fits on the D-line, the linebacker core, the secondary, I definitely think Jonathan Gannon can definitely step up this offense. And the Eagles still got to sign Landon Dickerson. Like, what in the name of God's life is taking so long to sign this man, Landon Dickerson? I understand that we're literally not even close to signing Landon Dickerson. But listen, if you get Zach Ertz out of Philadelphia, if you trade him out of Philadelphia to one of these teams that need a tight end, like the Jags, the Jets, the Bengals, the Bills, if you trade to one of those 4 teams, you get probably an extra, I think it's $8.5 million. You have $13 million combined, but that, again, is not going to be enough to sign Landon Dickerson. You may need at least, I don't know, $20 million to get this man on maybe a 3 or 4 year deal. I'm not sure, but $20 million is definitely going to have to be the minimum that you need to sign Landon Dickerson, in my opinion. And that is starting by getting Zach Ertz out of Philadelphia. But Zach Ertz is saying that he's going to play in training camp, which is going to make the situation worse to sign Landon Dickerson. Because we need some young depth on the O-line, and Landon Dickerson is the kind of guy that can guard and block for any quarterback that he is protecting. Because even though he has had injury problem in the past, he can still be a good player on the offensive line. He's played pretty much everywhere on the offensive line except for left tackle, where Jordan Mailata is possibly going to start and where he is at right now. So Landon Dickerson has played every single spot except for left tackle. So I really think Jonathan Gannon can definitely step this offense up this year, and really will just help them out. And I definitely think that the Eagles got to get Landon Dickerson signed ASAP, and the Eagles just got to get a CB2, because I cannot rely on Avonte Maddox or Zach McPherson to literally guard any receiver and be a starting CB2, just in my opinion. And Philly Talk Podcast says last thing about Eagles, Quez will ball. He could, honestly. I mean, Quez was all right. He was all right last year. He didn't get a lot of snaps. He was pretty good, but I definitely think he's going to get more snaps this year. Brandon Man, anyone can expose DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, you already know. Pretty much any cornerback is going to get exposed by DeAndre Hopkins, unless if you're the number 1 cornerback in the National Football League. Speaking about Jaquette, I love Jim Schwartz. Can't be happier to see a new defensive scheme, though. Yeah, Jonathan Gannon, he'll definitely step it up this year, and he'll definitely be better on man coverage, zone coverage, and cornerback blitzes, and mainly just all the blitzes in general. So I really think Jonathan Gannon can definitely be a way better defensive coordinator than Jim Schwartz did last year, because Jim Schwartz just showed pathetic effort, and he like didn't even care about his job. He didn't even care on what he was doing. And Jonathan Gannon is probably one of if not the best defensive coordinator in the game, and I really think he could definitely amp up this defense this year, 100%.
Well, I wouldn't. I don't know if you would consider Jonathan Gannon as one of the best defensive coordinators in the game. I mean, this is his first year at the position, and he has a lot to prove. But over the years, he has shown to do good work with with guys in the secondary and what have you, and he's worked under a pretty good defensive minded head coach and Mike Zimmer for the Minnesota Vikings. But I mean, a lot of these new faces on the coaching staff, the cards are stacked against them, because they're trying to prove their worth at their new positions. They're wanting to bring success back to a Super Bowl winning football team that was just in under 5 years ago. To see our downfall the way it went was very tragic, to say the least. But I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go overboard and call Jonathan Gannon as one of the best defensive coordinators, because he hasn't proved anything from that said position yet. However, in talks about Landon Dickerson, and him not necessarily getting a contract done yet, if this was like a week before training camp, and that is coming around the corner.
That's when it becomes into panic mode.
And then
if he's not signed 1 week before training camp, it's panic mode.
Then I think people would need to worry.
Start to worry.
I think this has a lot to do with the Eagles needing to clear the necessary cap in order to get the kind of contract that Landon's looking for. Rookie contracts are typically, a 4-year deal. I don't know if Landon is going to get Devontae Smith money. Obviously, their draft selections as far as where they have been picked are different. But you can also argue that in a sense, offensive linemen are worth a lot more than receivers. So there's that contrast that you have to work with there as well. But I mean, we can be concerned at this moment in time, but if the closer training camp comes and there's no deal yet for Landon, then I think people need to start not necessarily hitting the panic button, but in more of a sense like what the hell is going on. And then in terms of Zach Ertz, it has been reported and speculated that Zach is reportedly that he's going to be reporting to training camp. So, what does that say? I think this is a situation where Howie may be, trying to count his poker chips again and go all in on an idea or concept of a team during training camp, or if preseason games come around the corner. A team suffers injury and they're in desperate need of a plug and play player in terms of the tight end position, and maybe that's when Zach gets moved. But I don't know. I mean, for a number 2 tight end at $8.5 million, that's pretty expensive. And we just re-signed Richard Rodgers again. We need to figure, the Eagles really need to figure this out already with Zach Ertz, because it has gone on for too damn long and it's stressing a lot of Eagles fans out. So
definitely 100%. I mean, I'm tired of what we're gonna do with Zach Ertz. I mean, are we gonna keep Zach Ertz? Are we gonna trade him? We have heard the report saying that Zach Ertz is going to report to training camp by the time it starts, and I'm just tired of what is going to happen to Zach Ertz. I mean, will he stay? Will he go? like, what's he gonna do at this point? Howie Roseman's got to make a decision on if he's gonna keep him or trade him, and this can't be going on forever and ever, because if this keeps going on, we're gonna be so confused on who's gonna be our number 1 tight end and then our number 2 tight end. And in my opinion, I just think this is Dallas Goedert's season. He's a nice young piece. He can definitely improve on his game. He can definitely get better when it comes to catching balls from Jalen Hurts. And I think Dallas Goedert definitely might have a chance to start a tight end. I mean, he has definitely improved his game. He's definitely ran the routes way better. He's definitely gotten better catching balls in the past and has just really been the guy. And he's a younger tight end than Zach Ertz, because Zach Ertz, he was okay the past few years, but hasn't been great since mainly the year the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 52 over the New England Patriots. So, do you still roll with Zach Ertz to be your starting tight end? You could, but in my opinion, I just would roll with a younger tight end like Dallas Goedert, because Zach Ertz is getting up there in age, and the older that players get, the lower that their salary cap is going to drop. Take like Brandon Graham, for example. His was going up so high, and then it's just going to drop like that. So I roll with Dallas Goedert just to prevent the cap situation with Zach Ertz from getting lower as he gets older in his age.
No, I don't necessarily agree in the concept of of players getting older that their salary cap is going to drop. It's going off of the it's going off of the idea of how high of a ceiling and how wide of a prime window the said players have. I mean, you look at Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is arguably the best tight end in football, and he's 31 years old. He's actually a year older than Zach Ertz. So I mean, you look at a guy like that. His contract, he's still going to attract big dollar amounts. But in terms of Zach Ertz and his performance the last few years, Zach Ertz actually has been good past the Super Bowl year, but his drop off was 2019. Going into 2020, I think that's the obvious to say. 2019 is when Zach broke the I think he broke the all-time receptions record by a tight end, passing Jason Witten. But that was solely due to Carson Wentz not really having a other reliable pass catching target other than Zach, who was a tight end. Most of the receivers didn't necessarily step up, and he actually had to use Miles Sanders, split out as a receiver at times as well. But I think it's tough to see players drop off like this, and we don't truly know the extent of what Zach Ertz drop off is. Yeah, he got hurt towards the end of 2019 because Carson hung him out to dry on a play against the Dallas Cowboys late into the season, and he got a couple of cracked ribs on it. But he actually came back out on the field because he knew his team needed him, and he continued to play. So you have to respect the man for doing that. 2020, everybody suffered. The quarterback is the top of the food chain, the top of the food chain in the respect to how the rest of the playmakers perform. If the quarterback's not there, then a lot of the playmakers are not there. And Zach was one of the players that suffered because of that. But he also didn't help himself at the same time, because he felt that he was still a perennial top 3 tight end in the league coming off of that 2019 season. He wanted top 3 money to compete with the likes of George Kittle and Travis Kelce. There was too much tension in contract negotiations. Things got sour. And, after 2020, here we are now, a tight end who's looking like the number 2 because they're pushing the idea of Goddard being the number 1. Goddard's now in contract negotiations. What are you going to pay him? What is he worth? I mean, I would have to imagine that he would be worth more than a guy like Austin Hooper, who I think is making around the range of $11 to $12 million a year. That's a lot to give to a guy in Goddard who I think is entering his third year or fourth year in the league. So I mean, there's a lot of considerations here, but if it comes to terms that Ertz is going to be the number 2, which a lot of us don't think that that's going to be the case, we would hope that it's Richard Rodgers because of how the situation escalated over the offseason with the disgruntlement and Ertz getting emotional at his exit press conference and how he wants to stay here and all the mixed emotions. Is Zach willing to take the step of a step down? In other words, how Brent Selleck looked in 2017 when he knew he was at the end of the road. He was 32 going on 33 as one of those supportive, those supportive cogs in the system, not a primary target, but he was a good assistance for a tight end core that consisted of Zach Ertz and Trey Burton, and you throw Brent Selleck into the mix as the big dog, that veteran of the group that everybody goes to in terms of advice and playing the position. Is Zach ready for that yet? That's the question that a lot of people would like to have answered, but being there has been so much tension with contract talks, it doesn't seem that that's going to be the case right now.
Yeah, definitely. It's just that Zach Ertz has got to stay healthy. He's getting older up there in age, and these players, they just got to stay healthy this year. Pretty much every single player. If we want a chance to contend for a division title and potentially host a playoff game, we got to stay healthy. It's mainly our only way to mainly be a successful organization in Philadelphia, especially your receiving guys that are trying to catch balls from your quarterback, because some of these practice squad guys like Greg Ward, Deontay Burnett, and some of these other young guns, and then you have some of these other ones that have more experience, like a Travis Fulgham, a Jalen Reagor. You now have Devontae Smith on the team. You have John Hightower and Quez Watkins coming into their second year. So you gotta have your wide receivers and mainly your receivers overall. You just gotta have them stay healthy if you want a chance to contend for a playoff spot this year, to try to prove all the doubters wrong.
Yep, absolutely. So I guess with that said, are we ready to get Lucas excited talking about basketball or what?
Yeah, I got one more for you, and then we'll move on. How many receiving yards do you got for Devontae Smith, and how many touchdowns?
Well, it's a good thing I made a video on it already. You can. I made one. I made one for Miles Sanders, Devontae Smith, and obviously Jalen Hurts. So it's a good thing I made a video on Devontae Smith, and I almost forgot about him. But I feel that I feel it's not necessarily obvious, but Devontae Smith has the most potential on the football team to not only be the number 1 receiver, but to have the most receiving yards. I respectively have Devontae Smith around 1,150 receiving yards. I do have him catching about in the range of about 80 receptions. We'll say 75 to 80. It depends. There's a lot of hungry players on this offense and only one football. And I think that Devontae Smith is going to have about, we'll say, in the ballpark of 6 to 8 touchdown receptions. If you want to push it to 9, then be my guest. But I think if I remember the statistics correctly, Justin Jefferson last year, I think he only had 9 or 10 touchdowns. When I did my prediction for Devontae Smith, I compared the idea of his upcoming performance to what CeeDee Lamb did last year and what Justin Jefferson did last year. And I did a comparison between those two players in the sense that they were rookies respectively. They had different situations that they were dealing with. So if you want to find a compromise, and being that you're looking at arguably, if not the best route running wide receiver coming out of this draft class. He didn't win the Heisman for nothing. I think it was respectable to put Devontae Smith between both CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson. I do believe Devontae is going to have more receiving yards than CeeDee Lamb did. But I don't know if he's going to have the year that Justin Jefferson had with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But the thing is about Devontae Smith, he has great hands, has the connection with Jalen Hurts because they both play together at Alabama. Keep that in mind. They both play together at Alabama. So Devontae Smith is familiar with who is throwing him the ball. Not Carson Wentz anymore. He's got Jalen Hurts throwing him balls now. So don't be surprised if Devontae Smith has a lot of these receptions and a lot of these touchdowns that Jalen Hurts will be throwing to the end zone. Don't be surprised if Devontae Smith has a lot of these because he has the familiar connection with Jalen Hurts, has great hands, and is a great route runner when it comes to any coach running these receivers, whatever routes that they decide to run the receivers.
Yep.
All right, now we're going to finally get on to the Sixers. We're now saved.
Lucas, you better be ready.
Yeah, Lucas, we're getting into the Sixers now, buddy.
There we go.
See there?
Yeah, you two are definitely going to want to take point on this one.
Well, yeah, because you're a Mavs fan. Like I said before, we'll get into the Mavs.
Can you
get into the Mavs stuff, so that's where you can come into play.
Yeah, Lucas, you're good.
All right, so Let's Go Bird says, yes, sir. I don't know why you're just still here. I don't know either. And he also says Goddard and still future second. So Let's Go Bird still has Dallas Goddard as the second string tight end and still has Zach Ertz as the starting tight end is what I'm getting here.
What up, Nighting?
Nighting says, I got the new keyboard. What's up? What's happening, Nightings? What's going on? Yes, sir. Welcome on into the chat. We're finally getting into the Sixers right now. So this is mainly going to be me and Lucas talking because, as you guys may not already know, Lindy Endzone over here is a Mavs fan. So once it comes to the Mavs talk, it's going to mainly be me and Lindy, but it might be the Lindy show. You never know. But for the Sixers, it's going to be mainly me and Lucas. And if Lindy wants to chime in, he can. But Lucas, you can hear us, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So, Lucas, since you and I are both Sixers fans, this is mainly going to be our part. So, what do you think the Sixers' biggest need is over the offseason besides point guard? Because we already know.
I think we need to surround Embiid with shooters because if we surround Embiid with shooters, he can just go to work in the post, He can just kick it out to anybody. With Ben Simmons, you couldn't do that, That's
yeah,
why
exactly. Ben Simmons wasn't really a shooter. He wasn't really a shooter. He was mainly a role player, so he couldn't really do much of an impact with Joel Embiid. And
he was a big, fast passer guy.
Exactly, and he liked getting the rebounds and the assists, but was just not a shooter. He just wouldn't shoot the ball, and that's why the Sixers lost the Atlanta Hawks in the second round. Lucas, you still there?
Do you think we should move Doc Rivers in the offseason?
I say you give Doc maybe one more year. I mean, a lot of the blame for the loss in the second round, it went to not only Doc Rivers, but it also went to Ben Simmons because Ben Simmons would not shoot the ball, and he was always going for rebounds and assists all the time, and he just wouldn't shoot the ball. I mean, if you saw the video of Ben Simmons in the open gym, he literally was shooting the ball, taking jump shots and taking fading shots, and what did he do? He made all his shots. So people are telling me that Ben Simmons could do the shooting in an open gym, and he can do it in warm-ups, but will not do it in an NBA game. So a lot of the blame in the second round went on Ben Simmons, and it also went on Doc Rivers. But I say you give Doc one more year. Again, he does have plenty of playoff experience, so I think he can improve. He just got to be better on the coaching, and whoever we take at point guard, which we better get someone real nice in a trade, which Daryl Morey will not mess around in doing so. So I really think it's time to move on.
I
from
don't
Ben
think it
Simmons.
matters who the coach is for Ben Simmons because he'll not shoot it either way. Like, if it's the best coach in basketball, Greg Popovich, he won't shoot the ball. Like, no matter who it is, he won't shoot the ball.
Exactly. That's why we need to move on from. That's why we got to move on from Ben because he won't shoot the ball. We need a shooter. And speaking of shooters, Lucas, who do you want as a shooter more, Bradley Beal or Damian Lillard?
I gotta go Damian Lillard because he can actually create his own shot. He can take up the ball. Like, say we get Bradley Beal, who's gonna be the point guard? Seth Curry. Like, he's more of an off-ball player, catch and shoot kind of guy. So that's just my guy. But I mean, we could sign somebody in the off season, but I don't really know point guards who are free agents this off season. So I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm going Damian Lillard as well because there's already been a trade proposal for Damian Lillard. It's just that who do we give up with Ben Simmons in order to get Damian Lillard? We know Ben Simmons is going to be in that deal with probably 4 first-round picks, but do we include
I'm not giving up Maxey.
Exactly. I wouldn't either, but we may have to because if I'm Daryl Morey, I'm not giving up both Ben Simmons and Matisse Thybulle because they are both defensive studs. They're both big-time studs on defense, and I am not giving up them both. So it's really tough to see just what Daryl Morey will do in order to make a trade work for Damian Lillard. Because we know Ben Simmons is going to be in that deal. We know at least 4 first-round picks are going to be in that deal. But who else will be in that deal? And I'm not giving up Seth Curry. I'm not giving up Tyrese. But we got to give up either Tyrese or Thybulle. And if I had to pick one, I may have to go with Maxey. Because we're looking for shooters on the floor. I understand that we need to be better on the bench, but that can happen in free agency and it can happen in the draft. We can get those guys later on, but we need shooting help bad because our shooting, it was up and down at times, but we're trying to win a championship over here, and we haven't had the best shooters on the floor. I mean, Tobias Harris was okay he was pretty good in the playoffs. Joel Embiid was a monster. And
How
this
do you feel about CJ McCollum?
I mean, CJ McCollum, he could be in a trade, but I really think we need a big time scorer, and that's why we need Damian Lillard. Because if you had Damian Lillard and Joel Embiid together, you basically have one of, if not the best duos in the NBA. And if you add Seth Curry, Tobias Harris, and if we re-sign Danny Green, that is where you can possibly have one of the best starting lineups in the NBA possible with a fresh point guard in Damian Lillard over Ben Simmons.
So I gotta get a couple things out there because I did do I did do some film study on that Hawks series for Sixers fans because I wanted to, I wanted to understand in a sense on what the hell was going on. And a quick footnote here. Um, I actually grew up as a 76ers fan. Allen Iverson was my guy growing up. I used to, I used to watch him late into the nights, early 2000s, and playoff games, and him carrying guys like Kyle Korver and Kevin Ollie and when Andre Miller was on that team for a little bit. Andre Iguodala in his prime with a dunk contest and everything. So I do remember those
Yeah,
years.
Andre Iguodala.
Iverson was my guy. My Sixers fandom kind of died when he retired back in 2013. And at the time before then, I was watching him and Dirk Nowitzki. So I kind of hitched to two bandwagons at the time, but my Sixers fandom was the primary until Iverson retired, and then I continued to watch the rest of Dirk's career, and the rest is history because now my boy Luka is doing big things, and I'm
And he's
I'm
gonna continue with that trend. He's gonna
I'm
continue to do big things.
I'm in desperate need to see my Mavs make moves for him, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But in terms of the Sixers, you talked about Matisse Thybulle and Ben Simmons being defensive studs. When you consider somebody a defensive stud, they not only have to do that in the regular season, but they have to do that in the playoffs. And in that Hawks series, I did not see defensive studs consistently enough in terms of how the Sixers played, defense in terms of your top guys. There was points in I specifically covered games, I think 6 and 7, and I watched a little bit of Game 5. There was a lot of times where whether it was systematically or mechanically, fundamentally, how these guys were playing defense. Guys were bumping into each other off of screens. There was no natural movement. They were giving up on the play too early. Korkmaz was another guy that was terrible on defense. Matisse was very inconsistent. Ben Simmons just didn't have the energy or the heart to do so. When you call somebody a defensive stud, they have to show that in the regular season and the playoffs. And I didn't see that from guys like Matisse or Ben Simmons, and nor did I see Ben Simmons and a lot of Sixers fans. Obviously, they didn't see Ben Simmons from an offensive standpoint. It's just I don't. There is a difference. There is a difference. Like coaches coach and players play. But there is a threshold there in which you have to balance things a little bit. Now, can you say that systematically did Doc Rivers did he change anything up to assist Ben Simmons in being the primary ball handler of that offense? He's bringing it up the court, and all he really did, predictably and very vanilla-like, was he came up to court, he sat at the top of the key for about 3 seconds, he would wait for Seth Curry to come open off a screen, give him the ball, set him a quick screen, and then go sit down on the block and really remain non-existent in the offense all around, where Seth would either bounce it to Embiid around the perimeter of mid-range, or Embiid would try and work Capella off of a dribble, get the center out from under the basket, and try a little bit of ISO. There was opportunities where that didn't work, and when you split and when you carry Embiid out there that far, a big man as he is, at the center spot in himself, he's not as efficient unless he's going to catch and shoot, occasionally, like a three-pointer, for what it's worth. But centers, you want them down low. Can you arguably say that Embiid in a sense is a stretch five? Yes and no. You wouldn't think his size necessarily would attest to that idea, but you would primarily want Joel Embiid under the basket, punishing smaller players and other bigs that just don't have the strength to keep him, from throwing it in for an easy two. But I mean, yeah, like I said, in terms of guys like Ben Simmons and Matisse Thybulle, I don't know if you would I don't know if you would put Tyrese Maxey over Matisse in trade conversation. I think I think Tyrese down the road for the Sixers would be a more important and valuable asset unless Matisse Thybulle really works on his game defensively and opens himself up for a little more offensive play. But as of right now, a lot of people were advocating for Tyrese Maxey to even take some of Ben Simmons' minutes. You already seen him put up a 30-point game in the playoffs. There's potential there. But when you're inconsistent in terms of giving these guys play time, that's where it affects them, and then you lose efficiency, and the players are starting to question, well, you gave me this many minutes in this game and then it gets cut in half from here. I'm not in the same situations as previous games, and so on and so forth. So I mean, the Sixers got a lot of work to do, and it's very perplexing on how Ben Simmons plays, because games where Embiid is not on the floor, like back in February for the Sixers, Ben Simmons was your primary scorer against the Utah Jazz, and he drops 42 on Rudy Gobert. I mean, Sixers fans, you got is somebody going to make sense of that? It just, I don't know. Looking from afar, is it a situation where maybe Ben Simmons and Embiid cannot coexist together on the floor at the same time? Are they both, obviously Sixers fans know that Embiid is an alpha. He is the alpha of that team. He is the number one. And, there was points, there's points in time where you guys felt that the second alpha was probably Tobias Harris, because he was playing at a more legitimate all-star level than Ben Simmons was. He wasn't living up to that all-star title, and that's understandable. You guys seen the inconsistencies there. But that's one thing I'm trying to find out from afar is there really a coexistence there between Embiid and Ben Simmons? Because me personally, I don't see it. I don't know. You just have to those kinds of games where Embiid is not on the floor and Ben Simmons really puts on a clinic, and maybe he's not like the guy that can create a shot necessarily. He has his back to the basket a lot. He likes to back guys down around the mid-range or take them off the dribble with a quick spin and slam it home. There's times where he has displayed that talent, but is the question in itself his mentality, or is it the talent as a whole? If it's a mentality, then you're looking at the case of a fresh start for him is probably absolutely necessary at this point, because you would think Sixers fans feel the process has failed, being that you guys tanked as many years to get the picks in order to acquire those two all-star caliber players. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's my opinion on the whole situation. I just, it just looks to me that Ben Simmons and Embiid just can't completely coexist on the court at the same time. They're trying to, I don't know. They're trying to figure it out. It just, I'm so confused on the whole thing. I'm pretty confused. So, but that's another perspective.
Yeah, I mean, in the one Utah Jazz game where Ben Simmons literally went off against Rudy Gobert, we were practically playing small ball center with Ben Simmons playing at the 5 spot for Joel Embiid because Joel was hurt. And in my opinion, with a Damian Lillard trade, can Matisse Thybulle fix up and definitely improve on? Can he improve on both sides of the ball? Of course he can. Can he show it? That's still the question mark. So, in my opinion, for a Damian Lillard trade, you'd have to do Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle, and probably at least 4 first-rounders to get a big shooter like Damian Lillard. That's what I would do. I'm not giving up Maxey because Maxey has definitely improved his game, and when he comes up big and gets a lot of playing time, this is where that young cat can go off and can really provide that spark to the 5 players that you always have on the court playing together in an NBA game.
Where I gotta know from the other baller in the room. I mean, so do you have any points that I gave out, Lucas, that you feel that you can that you can refute there? I just need to know that I'm making sense for an outside fandom perspective. I mean, that's that at least that's what I see. But I gotta know from another baller for a Sixers fan. So unless he's not there
Yeah,
anymore.
you basically brought up some great points, but I'm keeping Maxey no matter what.
Yeah,
I'm keeping Maxey no matter what, but Thybulle is on the table for me. He is not great offensively, and he has obviously shown that throughout his NBA career. But I'll trade for anybody if it involves Ben, but if it involves Maxey, I'm not doing it. Maxey's too valuable to me.
Yeah, he'd probably be way too valuable for a bunch of Sixers fans, especially Sixers fans like us, Lucas. So I wouldn't trade Tyrese. I think Thybulle's on the table to get traded because he can improve on his game. He just has to show it, and can he show it? That's the question mark. And I'm not sure if he will because it depends how well Matisse Thybulle can play on the floor. And if he's not providing the spark to that offense, and when the Sixers play defensively, then how are you gonna play defense, and how are you gonna do this and that? I mean, Thybulle's on the table to get traded, and I can see him in a Damian Lillard trade. Lucas, you there?
Oh, I got another one for Sixers fans. Would you based on your bench depth, especially the center position, would you guys consider re-signing Dwight Howard?
I mean, it definitely does make sense. I mean, I think we have 5 or 6 players that are free agents, and some of them are Dwight Howard, Danny Green, Furkan Korkmaz, Rajon Tucker, Gary Clark, and Dwight Howard is in that mix. So I can definitely see the Sixers getting Dwight Howard back. He's a nice veteran piece. But the thing is, when Joel Embiid goes down, because Joel Embiid does tend to get injured a lot, when he tends to go down and when Dwight Howard comes in, Dwight Howard is not the greatest on both ends of the ball. That's why we should never traded Tony Bradley, because Tony Bradley was a nice young piece that could have came in. He didn't get injured a lot, and he just would have been a really nice backup centerpiece to Joel Embiid instead of having us play small ball when Joel Embiid got injured. So I definitely can see Dwight Howard getting re-signed, as well as a guy like Danny Green, and get Furkan out of here, get Mike Scott out of here, get Anthony Tolliver out of here, and get Gary Clark out of here, because they really don't do anything.
No big deal, Anton. Anybody,
Yeah, in my opinion, Dwight is $5 million a year. Like, he's $5 million, and he provides great veteran presence off the bench. In my opinion, I'm re-signing him. If I can get him for $5 million, the veterans minimum. That's great. That's a steal, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think he's actually I think he's actually in the market for us, for the Dallas Mavericks, respectively. I just, it would be, I don't know, because I'm thinking about, a situation of us not re-signing Boban. I'm thinking of, trying to figure out who Willie Cauley-Stein is going into the second year of his contract. I'm trying to figure out, has Dwight Powell hit a ceiling? At 29 years old, Maxi Kleba, pretty much one dimensional. I mean, he can work down low a little bit. Luka is setting him up on alley oops and whatnot, but you know, Maxi Kleba is just a spot up shooter. I don't know what's going to happen to Kristaps Porzingis. So, I mean, if you know, and and, and I did a collaboration a little bit ago with Tone to Shields, in which we compared both franchises between the Dallas Mavericks and the Philadelphia 76ers. And they do have some surprising comparisons amongst each other. We both have a superstar face of the franchise that we're trying to build a team around, and we haven't had much luck as of late. So we're trying to fill in the blanks there. But yeah, I mean, in terms of Dwight Howard, you're looking at a 35-year-old veteran who's obviously past his prime, but in for a number one seeded Sixers team, he was a pretty good piece off of the bench. What a guy that you can rely on to allow Joel Embiid to get well deserved minutes on the bench, allow him to rest a little bit. Obviously, being that Ben Simmons isn't going to show up when Ben Simmons isn't going to show up offensively when Embiid is off the floor. So there's a there's an overgrowing dependence there on trying to get Embiid back on the floor to score some points for the Sixers. Outside of him, your offensive efficiency was limited in terms of versatility. I mean, Seth Curry had his responsibilities, and Tobias Harris was on and off at times, and Danny Green was just primarily a 3-point shooter, 3-and-D guy. So you look at Dwight Howard, and he averaged about what 7.5 points, almost 9 boards, and about 11 to 17 minutes worth of time. That, I mean, for a bench player at the 5 spot, that's some pretty good contribution. And the Sixers will just have to figure out on how difficult is that going to be to replace. If case in point that's the situation that they have to deal with, it's not going to hurt them in the slightest to re-sign him if he wants to stay in Philadelphia, and that's the decision you guys will just have to make.
Yeah, definitely. Like, who knows if we're gonna keep Dwight Howard? That's why, again, I said we should have never traded Tony Bradley. He was a nice young piece to back up Joel Embiid, and when you have a 35-year-old backup center in Dwight Howard, you have a good piece. It's just that, can Dwight Howard bring up his potential? I think he definitely has, but he kind of may have to work on his game a little bit more. And I really think the Philadelphia 76ers may be able to re-sign Dwight Howard, in my opinion. We should also re-sign Danny Green, but get everyone else out of here because they hardly do a thing for our bench. Mike Scott, Furkan Korkmaz, Anthony Tolliver, and some of these other pieces. Gary Clark, too. They barely did a thing for us. Just get the rest of them out of here and bring Danny Green and Dwight Howard back because they were huge pieces for us, whether if it's in the starting lineup or coming off the bench.
Yeah. So I seen in the private chat. It looks like Lucas has to head out. Unfortunate case in being, But then again, our stream has gone on for almost 2 hours now. I think we got some. Awesome conversations in here. So I guess what that being said, Lucas, big things are. Well, I think BLSG accidentally took himself off of his own stream. So, yeah, I mean, with that said, Lucas, let us know about the HPL and the unique carpet basketball league that you guys got going on. What can we expect as far as future content? Any new players you guys are adding, and obviously, me personally, I'm intrigued if I can get myself up to Pennsylvania sometime soon. But I gotta play ball with y'all. But let us know about the channel and what we can look forward to in the coming days or weeks.
Yeah, we're gonna be posting a lot soon. We're just gonna grind out our videos and post games we record. Y'all can find us in the link below. I think BLSG posted our channel.
Yeah, I put the link down in the description.
We got a lot of new players coming, all ages, all sizes, anybody's welcome. Even if you're from a different state, you already know, Lindy. You got to come up sometime.
I saw that coming.
You could play in our league, but for real, if y'all interested, just go to our channel, comment if y'all trying to play. We're about like 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia, so if y'all just trying to play some basketball, get active, just watch some good content in general, you should probably subscribe to our channel. We also do some sportscasts sometimes if y'all like that sort of stuff, and yeah, basically sums up our channel.
Sweet, good deal, man. You already know. You already know. As soon as I get the opportunity to get back up to PA, man, I'm gonna be reaching out to you guys, figuring out your schedule when you guys play, who's gonna make it, so on and so forth. I'll have to definitely get some details, and then no doubt we're gonna keep in contact. I'll have to we're gonna have to talk some more basketball. I'll have you on I'll have you on my channel at some point. So yeah, appreciate hanging out with you, Lucas, and your meeting you in camera person instead of audio person. And have a good night, man.
Peace out, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all too. See you.
All right, so let's just kind of talk a little bit more, and then you can tell the fans like where they can find you and all that, and then we'll skedaddle out on it here. Let's just look at the chat real quick. Nighting's saying it's going good. I unfortunately still can't make content. Well, start some videos or something, or if you haven't started a YouTube channel yet, highly recommend doing so.
Yeah, Nighting's got one.
Do I have Twitter? Yeah, if you guys don't know already, you guys can follow me on Twitter at BLSG20. So if you guys want to follow me on Twitter and give me a follow, that'd be great, man. Maxi's a good point guard. Yeah, he definitely provides the energy off the bench. I definitely will give Maxi credit. Great, Ched. Thanks, buddy. Started watching NBA a few years ago. You guys are hurting my brain with the knowledge being dropped. Hey, we just have great knowledge over here. So what we just do, we just speak our minds out. We just say our opinions and say what everyone else thinks. Oh well, don't mind me. I enjoy learning more. I just get lost in the technical aspects. Yeah, sometimes you may just lose us, but this is the first time where I ever lead a collab, so I try to do the best I can when it comes to doing these. So when it comes to us staying and speaking our minds out, we just try to say what we can, and if we have to disagree, then we'll disagree, and if we gotta do that, if we got to do something, then we'll get it down. But this is good for people who know a lot more than me. It's not you, it's me. Yeah, okay. Not sure what that means, but anyhow, I agree. These cats really get involved intensely and go deep into the roster, not only with all the Philly teams, but with every team in all sports. Yeah, definitely. Tyrese Maxey and Matisse Thybulle, they're young cats, but in a Damian Lillard trade, I'm probably throwing in Ben and Matisse Thybulle because they have not lived up to their potential. And in my opinion, I really just don't see. I just don't see Tyrese getting traded. If Tyrese Maxey gets in a trade, then, and if he gets traded, I'll be upset. I will be upset if Tyrese Maxey gets traded. It's cool. I'm learning a lot from listening. Yeah, you guys can definitely learn something from us older people that know what we're talking about when it comes to Philly sports. Except for this guy who is also known as a Mavericks fan, but is an Eagles fan at the end of the day. Oh well, would the Mavs take Simmons? You want to answer that, Lindy? Lindy's like, no, thanks. Hey, you compare him up with Luka Doncic. You compare that boy up with Luka Doncic. Nah, I'm just kidding. You guys don't want Ben.
People have already had the mitigated God to try and say Ben Simmons is better than Luka, and I almost regurgitated. So yeah, I mean, and these weren't trolls either. Some people were legitimately trying to say Ben Simmons is better than Luka, and I don't know. I felt sick, but I was laughing at the same time. It was a very weird emotion. So yeah, I mean, I
you
think
guys can play next to Luka Doncic.
Ew.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just playing with you. Luke's is a basketball player. Yeah, he has his own carpet league where him and a bunch of other guys, they just get a player and play some carpet league basketball. If you guys want to check out the channel, the link is in the description to check them out. And I guarantee you guys won't be disappointed. They really bring on the competition when it comes to playing those carpet league basketball games, and it definitely brings all the energy. They definitely bring all the energy, and guarantee you guys will not be disappointed if you go watch their carpet league because it is pretty fire. Not gonna lie about that. But yeah, Lindy, let's just talk some Mavs real quick. So, what do you think is your biggest need over the off season?
Well, the biggest need for Dallas is going to be it's going to be predicated on the idea of what Dallas decides to do with Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, at this point in time, I still believe that I still believe in KP's talent. I think a lot of it has to do with not only physical limitation due to his meniscus tear not too long ago. He hasn't fully recovered from that. And you're talking about a guy who's 7'3", about 225 pounds. He's a tall, lengthy guy. And knee injuries for those kinds of players are the worst to come back from. You need as much flexibility as possible. You guys know that very well with Joel Embiid, and how he has struggled with injury over the last couple of years, and how it robs him of his athleticism at times. And it's very crucial because he's pretty much your primary scorer. He's the difference maker. He's the alpha of that team. Well, Dallas wanted to gamble on taking a risk and pairing arguably two unicorns together. Luka's a unicorn, no question. And if Porzingis got back to form at any point, I still feel that he is. Some people have suggested that the unicorn term has died because Porzingis is not that guy anymore. But they fail to mention that you can
you can arguably say that Kevin Durant is a unicorn. I think that's without question. You know, a 7-footer and Kevin Durant to have that smooth of a stroke when it comes to shooting the ball. You know how he takes people off the dribble. It's just like his, for a guy his size, for a guy his height, to be able to shoot the way he does, to be able to play defense, to be able to take guys off the dribble with his ball handling. That's unicorn to me. There's, guys like Kevin Durant don't grow on trees, just like, at a time ago, guys like Porzingis also don't grow on trees. But he is very limited right now physically. It's hurting his play on the court. And at the same time, I don't necessarily think that Porzingis was utilized correctly in Rick Carlisle's system offensively. There was too many cases where it's a typical offense of Luka bringing it down to court. He works off of a screen. Sometimes it's a Porzingis screen, and KP, instead of on a pick and roll, he picks and pops instead because he's a stretch 5. He can shoot the 3. He can work on you down low a little bit. He doesn't have that physical girth to be able to back guys down in the paint. If you're talking your typical center, if he has a mismatch where a mouse is in the house, then, in terms of being a smaller player for guys like Random Anton in the chat. So you guys aren't getting lost. I'm trying to explain myself a little bit, but in terms of basketball, when you're talking about a mouse in the house, that's just meaning that you have the height advantage, that it's a mismatch to you. There was cases where Porzingis would have that kind of mismatch, and he wouldn't necessarily take advantage of it. He would either settle for like a 6 to 8 foot hook shot, or he would fade away from the mid range instead of taking the guy off of the dribble, using the pivot foot, put himself in a position to get an easy basket. There wasn't necessarily a lot of that, and a lot of it had to do with him not necessarily coming back to physical form, post knee injury. That meniscus has still bothered him. I feel that he wasn't managed very well in terms of him coming off of injury. He would sporadically miss games throughout the season. He only played 43 games this year. When you're trying to develop chemistry on the court, with you being the second option to the primary decision maker and scorer of the basketball team, it's hard to try and figure a scheme out offensively with said 2 players on the court at the same time, when one of them is battling injury and they can't stay on the floor, for you to be able to build upon that chemistry and figure out what you guys do and don't like from a basketball standpoint. Luka didn't necessarily have that with Porzingis because, he battled injury on and off. And when he came off of injury, Rick Carlisle would decide to play him over 30 minutes instead of load managing the guy, to allow him to rest a little bit, to not overexert himself on that knee, knowing that it's sensitive. So, I'm at a crossroad right now. I haven't given up on Porzingis yet. I don't feel that he was managed very well. It is obviously known, due to reports across the Dallas fan base, Mavericks, not Cowboys, Mavericks. But across the Mavericks fan base, there's reports that have come out that, Porzingis has made it known that he was not happy with his role, and it's understandable. But it's a two-way street. Sometimes you have to make the most of what you're given, and being that Porzingis is on a fringe max deal, sometimes you have to live up to that contract. And Porzingis necessarily hasn't, especially in terms of the playoffs. Although his regular season numbers this year in a shortened season due to injury, he was very efficient, one of his more efficient seasons. So a lot of the offseason decisions for the Mavericks is going to be predicated on the idea of what they're going to do with Porzingis. However, one definite improvement that the Mavericks can make is getting a shot creating shooting guard, something like that. I can look at a guy like DeMar DeRozan. I think he would be a perfect fit for this team. A guy that can create his own shot, really give Luka a break, so he's not necessarily trying to, facilitate the offense. He has guys that he can trust, that can work the mid range. Can take guys off the dribble, so on and so forth. But if the Mavericks want to go in the point guard direction, I do feel that upgrading the backcourt would be a decent option for this team. Jalen Brunson's promising. I'll give him that. Jalen Brunson is promising. He came out of the same draft class as Luka.
He did pretty good for you guys in Dallas at his role.
He's okay. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have to upgrade at the position. So would I be interested in a guy like Mike Conley? Absolutely. He can do similar things that DeMar DeRozan can. I think Conley's a little better of a three-point shooter. DeMar DeRozan was never a three-point shooter in his career. He's on average about 25 to 28%. He just doesn't take them. He's shown up in big games for the San Antonio Spurs last year, so we know that he can be that takeover guy when necessary to relieve some stress on Luka. That if Luka is not needed, he can get well-deserved rest on the bench. But I look at guys like Mike Conley, I look at guys like DeMar DeRozan. But if we have to go bottom of the barrel and pick up a guy like Dwight Howard to help with our questioning of that 4/5 spot,
mainly the 5.
Yeah, maybe a guy like Austin Rivers, who fell out in that OKC trade. He goes to Denver. He tries to find a role there. He made the most of the minutes that he was given. He's only 28. I think he could help at that. I think he could help give some depth at that point guard spot. I think he would be an upgrade over a guy like Trey Burke. And I would also like to know what the Mavs would do with Tim Hardaway Jr. I feel that he still has a spot. I feel that he still deserves a spot on this roster, but it's going to come to the dollar. He made almost $19 million last year. I feel that he's going to want, obviously he's probably going to want more than what he got paid last year, being that he did show up in crucial games in the playoffs, although he was inconsistent. But yeah, I think a lot of these roster decisions are going to depend on what the Mavericks do with the players that they currently have, and then go from there. To really build a playoff / championship caliber team that Luka Doncic 100% deserves.
Yeah, definitely. Second question for you on the Mavs. Who do you, out of everybody that you currently have right now that can play a center spot, who do you think will be your starting center for next season?
Ooh, starting center. Good question. Again, this is going to depend on if they decide to keep Kristaps Porzingis. If they don't, then I feel that they're going to have to look into free agency to either upgrade the position to where it's going to be a starting center, because I don't think we necessarily have that starting center on our roster right now. And free agency is not going to have that kind of guy available unless we're willing to do a trade with the team. I don't know who we would look for in terms of that center. But what I do know is that I think Luka would benefit with having a traditional center under the basket, like not to the caliber of a Joel Embiid, that, as you guys know how he plays, he has a bit of stretch 5 capability in him, but you would primarily want him under the basket. But I think that's where Luka would benefit in a traditional big that can work the paint. He's a big time presence. Like 3 to 6 feet in front of the basket. Alley-oop opportunities. Luka's Luka doesn't play a brand of selfish basketball, and that's one thing that allows him to stand out in this league to where he's arguably anywhere from top 5 to top 10 in just 3 years of NBA experience. Again, this is Dallas has a lot of decisions that they have to look forward to, and as far as the center spot goes, there's going to be a big decision in terms of what they do with Porzingis moving forward for the center spot.
Definitely. I mean, you got so many options to choose from right now. Who you currently have on your roster, and guys who you could get in the draft or in free agency, but probably in free agency, because if you guys want a big-time center that can start day one, you're going to want a center in free agency, because a draft player as a center is not going to be starting day one. He would have to be a backup for your team if you're looking to get a rookie out of everyone that is available at center in the draft. So if I was the Mavs, I would prefer you guys to go get a center in free agency. Definitely a nice veteran piece. See if you. I don't know if you guys would take Dwight Howard, but if you would, I think it would be a pretty good move. Depends how well Dwight Howard could play the game, and like you said, you're unsure with guys like Willie Cauley-Stein, Boban Marjanovic. Even though Boban's a little funny, Boban's like one of the funniest players of all time. But
I love Boban.
I love Boban too. Did you see the Goldfish commercial with him and Tobias Harris, bro?
Yep.
It is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Anyway, I love Boban, but I don't think he starts day one. And the question is, do you guys start a guy like Willie Cauley-Stein day one? Do you guys get a center in free agency to start day one? Do you guys go out and get a massive trade to start day one? There's a lot of questions for your Mavs, but definitely center is one of those key positions that you guys got to look for for next season.
I mean, looking at the list of free agent centers right now, there is some notable names in there. It's just I mean, Serge Ibaka is available. Serge Ibaka would be available. Enes Kanter. I go down the list here.
Obviously,
Cleveland,
Dwight Howard's available.
Yeah, Dwight Howard would be. The Cavaliers are not going to want to let Jared Allen hit free agency.
Hell no.
Hassan Whiteside makes sense. Tony Bradley is a young project that we can groom with Luka. He's only 23.
Yeah, he's young. We should never give up Tony Bradley in the first place.
Maybe Dwayne Dedman. Andre Drummond is considerable. So, I look at those kinds of options.
There's a lot of options for you guys, but
I think it's just going to solely depend on the type of guy to play at the center spot. But I do think that Luka would benefit from a traditional big to play down low.
Yeah, Luka would definitely want that. He would definitely want a center that he can 100% work with very well and can definitely attempt to lead his team to try to win a championship. And for my last question about your Mavs, do you have your Mavs making the playoffs? And if yes, how far do you have them going?
Going into this year, yeah, I do have the Mavericks making the playoffs. I feel that with Luka, they always have a chance. He's that kind of player. He's already a superstar going into his fourth year. The numbers prove it. The play proves it. Without Luka, this team is either the 10 seed or worse in the West, or worse in the Western Conference. Like Luka is the Dallas Mavericks. But in terms of expectation, I think expectation is easy to me. I have to imagine that I want the Mavericks to get out of the first round. It's been too long. They haven't been out of the first round since we last won the title in 2011.
Yeah, just like too many trips to the playoffs just to come up short. We need some sort of we need a deeper consistency involved, not just getting bounced in the first round, whether it's in 6 games or 7 games. I really would have wished that we put the Clippers to rest when we had them in our grasp again. I said earlier in the playoffs when we were still in it, it does not happen often that in back-to-back years you face the same team in the first round. And I would have loved the Mavericks to get their vengeance. After what they dealt with the Clippers in the bubble, losing Porzingis early, Luka playing on a tender ankle after Marcus Morris stepped on it. He deliberately stepped on it. I don't care what anybody says because the Clippers just hated Luka. They couldn't stand it because he would cook them on a nightly basis, and he cooked them again in the first round. It's just that Luka, he would either flame out in the fourth quarter, and I'll admit that there was times where Luka would flame out in the fourth quarter, but when you're playing the amount of minutes that you are, and nobody else can take the initiative to step up consistently and be an efficient scorer, then there's the situations where Luka doesn't get the rest that he needs on the bench, to be a little bit refreshed and have more energy going into the most pivotal quarter of the basketball game as to who wins. So but back to my expectations. I need the Mavs this year to get out of the first round, and I think as long as they do that, anything can happen. But it is going to solely depend on how they build this roster going into the 2021 season.
Yeah, definitely. As a Sixers fan, I honestly think your Mavs can make the playoffs. It just depends on what moves they're gonna make. Are there gonna be injuries? Even though we shouldn't be talking about that right now, but injuries could definitely impact you guys depending on who's injured. JJ Redick was out for pretty much the remainder of the season for you guys, but he didn't really bring he didn't bring a huge impact, and that was pretty much your only
$17 million just to sit on the bench and play 10 minutes. Seriously, that's what he made. About $17 million to play 10 minutes, get hurt again, and we don't see him for the rest of the season.
That literally
came in. He came in and just he came in, grabbed the bag, and left. Don't get me. Yeah. Come on, JJ. I know you didn't want to. I know you didn't want to go to Dallas. I think JJ wanted to. I forget what it was. He either wanted to go back west or back east. I don't know. He wanted to be closer to his family. Dallas was not one of his preferred destinations, and I get that. But you have a job to do. And that job is to play more than 10 minutes in a damn basketball game and not steal $17 million, even though that's probably, well, no, I think the Mavs pick up the majority of that contract because we traded for him, which was as stupid of a decision as us getting Josh Richardson, which the Sixers ultimately benefited from. Don't get me started on that one either, because I think Richardson's a bum too. But no.
Josh Richardson's mainly a bum, except for one game that he plays. The one game where he literally exploded for the Mavs, in the first half when the Mavs were up so much, and I think it was when you guys were against the Clippers and the Clippers had so little. And Josh Richardson that was mainly his only game where he literally carried you guys. And when Luka Doncic, I'm not sure if he was playing or not, but I think he was playing. But Josh Richardson was mainly your best shooter at the time when you guys were playing the Clippers in the one game of the regular season.
Are you talking the regular season game where we destroyed the Clippers by over 50?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kawhi Leonard didn't play that game. Kawhi Leonard didn't play. It was and these are probably just built-in excuses because I heard them at the time. Paul George still played. There was other injuries. Kawhi Leonard didn't play. It was an afternoon game. The Clippers weren't ready. Stuff like that. I mean, it's whatever. But Josh Richardson may have had a good game there, but it got so bad for him that towards the end of the season he ended up getting benched and lost his starter minutes. So that's how it worked out for us. And then Seth Curry for the Sixers ended up being one of the most pivotal players in the playoff series against the Wizards and the Hawks, even though you guys didn't get the job done. So yeah, there you go. We could have used Seth Curry. We could have definitely.
Yeah, Seth Curry definitely could have came up big for you guys. Yeah, he definitely could have, but that's mainly all the questions I got for you, my guy. So I think we may hop off here in a little bit. Just want to check the chat real quick. Luka is going to win a championship, definitely. His resume is already large at his young age. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, Luka's definitely got potential to win a championship. He's just got to have the right pieces to play around him if he wants to have a chance. I mean, the Mavs, they need a good center because who knows who they're going to rely on? Are they going to rely on Willie Cauley-Stein, or are they going to rely on Boban Marjanovic to make a decent backup? So there's mainly a lot of questions for the Mavs on what they're going to do, to be honest.
Well, Boban is a free agent. Boban's going to be a free agent. And the rest of the guys that we have on our roster are, they're not starting caliber guys. So yeah, I mean the 5 spot, the center spot is a position in need of an upgrade if we were to move on from Porzingis, but I think the primary is another shot creator that can that can create his own shots off of the ball. So
yeah, definitely. Center spot is like probably, in my opinion, your top need that you need to probably go for in free agency. But there are other pieces that you guys need.
Yeah, second.
But center's definitely one of the top spots that you got to go for first.
Yeah.
Drop the link in the chat. We're actually about to get off here, Big Play Slay. So we're about to get off here, so I'm not going to drop it. LMAO. Audie B, what's happening? Big Boy Slay. Ben for Dame, I hope. Yeah, man, we about to get out of here. Lindy, for one more time, just let everyone know where you can find you. Not only on YouTube, but mainly all over your social media, wherever you got social media at. Just let them know where they can find you. For those who are living under a rock and have just come in here, my guy, let them know where they can find you.
Well, already, I mean, it's been quite a journey so far. It doesn't feel, it certainly doesn't feel for me that it's been 8 months up to this point. From the beginning and getting to this spot that I'm at right now, it's been a hell of a ride. I'm enjoying every minute of it. We're on the course for 200 subscribers at the moment. I'm currently sitting at 155. It's fluctuated here and there, but we're kind of at that sweet spot in the 150. So I would really like to hit the 200 milestone, 20% of the way there to 1,000 subscribers. These are massive numbers that I'm already talking about.
Yes, sir.
Stuff like that. But yeah, man. Lindy Endzone for the touchdown, taking the lead for the Eagles one video at a time. You already know I also dropped buckets for my Dallas Mavericks. Dirk jersey in the back. You already know the deal.
With Jalen Hurts back there.
Yeah, I mean, not that often that an Eagles fan likes a Dallas team. It seems, I think it seems demonic for some Eagles fans, if I could say it that much. But I love my Mavericks. As long as it's not the Cowboys, then I think I'm in the good graces of the Eagles fan base, and I've have been for quite a while. But yeah, you already know you can check out my channel, Lindy Endzone. With that Mavericks and Eagles content, I do a bit of gaming every now and then, but I'm going to stay on point. Twitter, you can find me at the same handle as my channel, stuff like that. And yeah, man, appreciate having me on. Getting to know.
Definitely, my guy. Absolutely. And of course, Lucas Hallman's got to come up and say this: Lightning won the cup. Yeah, they did. The Canadians really stood no chance in that Stanley Cup final series. They just stood no chance. But yeah, man, good seeing you, Lindy Endzone. Good time collabing with you. Hoping to do more of this in the future. And if you guys want to check out Lindy Endzone's channel, the link is also in the description, as well as Lucas Hallman's from the HPL, even though he had to come off early. But we're about to get out of here, man. If you like seeing these, be sure to like and hit that subscribe button. Really pushes it out there to both of our channels. Really helps out the support, and we try to put out content as much as possible. And I may start to go on a little hiatus of not putting out content, but not going to say the reason why, but just I'm trying to put out as much as content as possible before I go on the hiatus here. But yeah, man, just want to read this from Random Ant real quick. Can't wait to see you guys during the Eagle season. You guys are going to get a lot of subscribers. You already know, my guy. But yeah, man, thanks for tuning in to the live stream, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.
Take care, y'all.